Good evening, friends. Welcome to the India Power Talk. India Power Talk is a knowledge sharing initiative. We invite international thought leaders and domain experts to share their insights, experiences, and strategies related to economy, environment, and education. Today's topic is global trends in digital sales and marketing. The COVID-19 pandemic has driven a massive shift towards digital processes, and global sales and marketing are no exception. There can be no doubt that we will continue to gladly use many of the digital solutions that have become a necessity even after the crisis is over. But I think we'll all miss the various forms of interactions that are normally part of our day-to-day lives. We look forward to the day when we'll again be free to work side by side with our colleagues, socialize, and attend real-life musical concerts. In the case of sales and marketing, there is a big difference. A recent study by McKinsey found that 70 to 80% of decision makers actually prefer remote interaction and digital self-serve processes for business to business transactions. Alongside the current health aspect, they cite easy scheduling and saving on travel expenses as key advantages. So it's safe to say there will be no return to the old normal in sales and marketing. But what will be the future look like? To discuss this new fascinating development, we have the pleasure of welcoming an internationally leading expert, Rakhi Voria, from the US, one who has been named in the top 100 global sales leader in 2021. Rakhi, welcome to India Power Talk. And once again, congratulations on being named in the top 100 global sales leader of 2021.
Well, thank you very much.
And I must thank you for taking time to speak with me. Please start, Rakhi, by telling us your work and expertise as the head of global digital sales at IBM.
So a little bit about me. I joined IBM about 2 years ago from Microsoft, and I manage a global team that's responsible for the digital sales development function. So as you mentioned, there are a few hundred sellers in my organization. We're responsible for selling a large portion of the IBM portfolio. We're aligned by brands, so we sell IBM cloud technologies or AI or systems, services, really the majority of the portfolio. And what excites me the most about managing this function is we're typically the first line of communication that a client will have with IBM. So my team is catching the inbound responses that are coming through on the IBM.com web pages through live chat or events that people are going to, or we're doing some outbound prospecting for specific initiatives, account-based marketing, new logos, all of that stuff. And because of that, we're really kind of the custodian of the IBM experience. We get to shape whether or not a client chooses IBM now and in the future. And I think with that comes such a strong responsibility, I guess, to ensure that we are engaging with clients with the right touch at the right time, with the right insights in their digital journey.
How would you place the digitization trends being driven by the current COVID-19 pandemic into the context of development that has been ongoing for an extended period already?
Most companies and organizations over the past several years, they've been on a digitization journey, or at least thinking about it, because customer buying preferences have been shifting toward digital engagement over the past several years. From my own personal engagements with clients, I've noticed a few different things. I'd say first, they want an experience that's channel agnostic and consistent. So they want to be able to self-serve, and we want to be able to engage with them at the right time. The second thing I hear a lot of is they want more personalized, streamlined experiences that are designed to meet their specific business needs. And then third, the thing I hear a lot of is agility being kind of key to their expectations and services. They expect us these days to anticipate their needs even before they do. And they want us to come prepared with solutions tailored to them. So I think the current pandemic environment and this new digital era, it actually provides us with an opportunity to engage with prospects at scale. And that's something that might not have been possible for many companies previously. We're seeing a lot of investments in machine learning and AI, and that's helping us to understand where clients are at in their journey, which gives us that opportunity to personalize and tailor some of those things. Study by InsideSales.com, and they reported that 89% of field sales reps have been spending more time actually selling remotely over the past 4 years.
Rakhi, the McKinsey study recently mentioned and looks at business to business sales and says that COVID-19 has changed the B2B sales forever. With over 70% of the decision makers now preferring remote interaction and digital self-serve processes. How do you see sales to consumer is in comparison to the B2B, and what trends are evolving in B2C sales in particular?
I'm seeing the exact same trends in B2C that I'm seeing in B2B as a result of the global pandemic. I think many consumers have been shifting their behaviors and spending habits. So I was recently just reading, there was a study, a CMO survey from Deloitte, and they showed that online sales actually grew by 43% between February and May, so the beginning of the pandemic. One interesting trend that has emerged on the consumer side that I've seen is around brand loyalty. So there's been some interesting shifts in behavior on here. The same study that I had mentioned, they actually said that 70% of consumers tried a new shopping behavior during the pandemic because of changing priorities or store closures or economic pressures or availability of products. So 36% of people tried a new product brand, and after those purchases, 73% have said that they're going to continue purchasing from those new brands that they tried during the pandemic. So,
would it be correct to say that the brand loyalty is getting seriously challenged because of digitization?
Exactly. That's exactly what the studies are showing.
Rakhi, digital marketing is, of course, closely related to digital sales. Could you dwell upon some top global trends in digital marketing worldwide?
Yes, well, I think the lines between digital marketing and sales are really blurring. And I think there's more and more tighter alignment and partnership between sales and marketing than ever before. And having a feedback loop between the two is so critical because together they can really create a comprehensive buyer persona to better target the ideal customer, to increase acquisition, to create targeted ads. In fact, many organizations have actually merged their sales and marketing teams underneath the same organizational umbrella to drive greater connectivity and alignment between the important functions. They recently said 67% of the buyer's journey is done digitally. According to CSO Insights, 70% of buyers actually fully define their needs before they even engage with the sales team. 84% of CEOs and VPs, they use social media now to make purchasing decisions. So I can go on and on about the statistics, but I think we get the point. It's that customers are making more decisions now on their own than ever before.
Do you really see then companies really reducing the actual physical sales force and investing more into digital networks or digital capabilities?
Well, so it depends on the corporation, but in general, yes. I mean, I think it's not necessarily an either or, it's more of an enhancement. So it's an and. So I think, a lot of companies are shifting from having field sales in-person coverage to digital or inside sales, meaning they have sellers, but they're people who are typically working from home or from a specific environment. So I think we're seeing a lot more sales forces shifting, but then of course, yes, I think as companies are getting more and more sophisticated with their tools and technology, they're trying to make a seamless experience where clients can self-serve, maybe without having to work with a seller altogether. But I think as much as some of the trends of digitization have increased over the past year, there are still so many people who require connectivity and connection with a real person, even if it's just instant messaging with them versus talking on the phone. So I don't think that we are near the stage where you can sort of make a real sales force or a human sales force obsolete. Sure, maybe in some specific industries or sectors that might be possible, but for a place like IBM, for example, I think technology is very complicated. There's so much complexity, and people really would like to speak with a live human to understand all of the questions they have.
Rakhi, what differences do you see between geographies, particularly, and specifically? I would appreciate your thoughts on digital sales and marketing adoption in India compared to the rest of the world, because we have a huge market here.
Absolutely. For me, I've always tried to adopt the 80-20 rule. So 80% globally consistent, standardized roles, tools, playbooks, processes, compensation models, all of that. And then 20% variance for geographical differences. And the reality is, I mean, you can never adopt fully global processes because every geography is so different. The way business is conducted is so different. Marketing segmentation is so different. Companies need to be sure that they can adapt to some of those geographical variances, but also adopt strong global processes where possible. In terms of what I've seen in India, my India team is based in Bangalore. So I've had the opportunities to spend some time out them with the clients, with partners, with my sellers, of course. And then for my Microsoft days, I was traveling to Delhi quite a bit as well. So have definitely spent some time in India. And what I've noticed on the marketing side is that brand awareness is critical. So, prominent brands tend to carry a lot more weight and respect. I've also noticed that large scale events with big name speakers tend to attract a lot of people. And then on the sales side, I've noticed there's a lot of price sensitivity. So I think we Indians, we care a lot about getting the biggest bang for our buck, myself included. But there's also a big emphasis on relationship.
No, do you see a lot of learnings from Indian market, which are useful globally?
Yes, I mean, I think the biggest learning for me was on the relationship side. So even though I was born and raised in the U.S., I had the opportunity to learn a lot about the culture of doing business with India from my mom. So my mom, but she leads the National U.S. India Chamber of Commerce. So she helps facilitate trade between the two countries. So at a young age, even though I was in the U.S., I was getting so much exposure to what it's really like to do business in India. And I think there's something to be said about the relationship aspect. In the US and, in some European markets, for example, I think there's sort of a tendency to keep it very business related. You're going to focus on the negotiation, you're going to deal with the terms and conditions. If everybody's sort of happy with what's outlined, then you close the contract and you call it a day. In India, that trust and that relationship building takes longer. And a lot of it is almost familial. You're actually taking the time to get to know people at more of an individual level. And that leads to referrals, and that leads to trust, and that leads to people really understanding the value that your product can deliver. So I think there's a lot that the rest of the world and many of the Western geographies can learn about doing business based on the experiences in India, and really that aspect of camaraderie and teaming and openness and transparency.
How much do you really have to tailor for every geography? Is there a specific emphasis that you have to give to deal with various geographies, or it's a natural process?
It's not as clear cut as saying these are the things that you have to do, and then here's where you get a little bit of lenience. I think it's unfortunately a little bit more complex. So for example, I think about my team. There are specific global processes that are outlined and documented that everybody has to follow regardless, period. And that's because of audit reasons, compliance reasons, making sure that we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing from a legal perspective in the way that we market and sell and engage with people externally. So that's a little bit more clear. That's black and white. But then, there are aspects within the geographies where maybe you are selling with a reseller, or maybe the talent pool is a lot different. So for example, in North America, I have a lot of people who are straight out of college. So people who are brand new sellers, new to the workforce. Whereas I look at my Japanese team, the average tenure of my team is actually 20 years. So they have 20 years of IBM experience. So that's a very, very different talent pool. So the way that we motivate them, engage them, train them, facilitate all of the learning and development can be very different depending on those geographies. So, I guess businesses just need to take a look at what are the must-haves and then what are the nice-to-haves, and then tailor all of their different options accordingly.
When you decide of launching a new product, does really how do you see India as being open to accepting the new models quite frequently, or how easy it is to in India to launch different products, different models,
Actually,
I would say.
yeah, I believe India, from what I've seen, is actually quite sophisticated from a technological perspective. I mean, there are so many technological advancements and innovation around AI and blockchain and everything that, from my experience, I've found that many companies in India want to be pioneers. They want to be the ones who are raising their hands for the latest and greatest technology. So assuming there's no issues with legal terms and conditions or any sort of pricing things that we're able to figure out, I would say that in general, I think companies in India are really at the forefront of technology and wanting to adopt some of that advancements.
Based on your vast experience and knowledge, what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs in India regarding the digital sales and marketing strategies?
Hmm. My biggest piece of advice is to surround yourself with great people. I think that's the best way to learn, to build your network, and don't limit yourself to specific sectors, to specific geographies, etc.
You are in the top 100 global sales leadership for 2021. What next for Rakhi?
Well, I'm not sure, I guess. I try not to over engineer it. I think it's important to be regimented about your career development plan, but not over engineer it so much that you're closed off to different possibilities. So I've been very fortunate in my career. I guess I've had roles across sales and finance and helped build a sales team, now helping to modernize sales teams. But I've tried a lot of different things, and really every single job opportunity or change I've ever had was thanks to the support of somebody who either opened a door for me or opened up my eyes and mind to the possibility of something I wouldn't have ever naturally considered, which is why I think it's so important to invest in your network, invest in your relationships. That's really the true currency of the world is your relationships. That's why they say your network is your net worth.
Yes.
And so in terms of what's next for me, I would love to continue being a pioneer in the field of advancing digital sales organizations. I want to help companies continue on their digital transformation, empower them to achieve as much as they possibly can using technology and all of the things that are at their fingertips. But I also want to continue being a champion for diversity in sales, specifically for getting more women in sales. Unfortunately, only 39% of people in sales are women. That number has only increased by about 3% over the past decade. The higher up you get, the worse it is. So only 1 in 5 vice presidents of sales are women. So I have been really focused on that over the past few years and trying to pave the way for more women and also people in other marginalized groups to enter this profession, because I've seen firsthand how worthwhile and viable it can be as a career path.
Let me ask you a last comment, Rakhi, on all the women who are responsible for sales globally in various industries for 2021. What would be your comment for them?
Oh, great question. I think I would tell them to leverage sales to do other things, honestly. So there's no traditional path in sales. I think a lot of people come into sales and they think, well, I have to start as an account executive, and then I'll be a sales manager, then I'll be a VP of sales, then I'll be a chief revenue officer. There's no linear path. I think the beauty of sales is that it can set you up to do anything. You can learn so many different tangible skills around influencing, negotiating, persuading, communicating. I'd encourage you to be open to different possibilities, because I think sales can set you up to do anything. So don't sell yourself short. And then the second piece of advice for women is just be yourself and believe in yourself.
Rakhi, I must really thank you for your valuable time. I know, you are short of time, but thank you very much for your insights and rich experience, which you openly shared with us. It was a pleasure talking to you.